The Vorath collective had ruled the stars for centuries. They were a cold, logical species, proud of their endless victories. To them, every new planet was only a new source of resources, new labor, and new ground for their empire. No world had ever resisted them for long. Their fleets were large, their weapons advanced, and their strategies carefully calculated. When their scouts discovered Earth, the Vorath Council was delighted. Reports showed a young species living on a planet rich in water, minerals, and life. From orbit, Earth appeared beautiful, but to the Vorath, beauty was meaningless. All they saw were forests to cut, oceans to drain, and metals to mine. The first scans gave them confidence. Humans had weapons, yes, but primitive ones compared to the galaxy's technology. They had no faster-than-light travel, no plasma cannons, no planetary shields. They were still bound to their small solar system. The scouts reported that the humans were divided into nations, often in conflict with each other. To the Vorath, it looked simple: land, conquer, and enslave. Inside the great chamber of the Vorath High Council, their leader spoke with pride. Earth will fall within days. They are weak and they do not know unity. We will take their planet and add it to our empire, as we have done 100 times before. The decision was made quickly. A fleet was prepared, armed with battleships, carriers, and thousands of soldiers. To the Vorath, this was just another routine conquest. They expected no surprises. But there was something the Vorath did not understand. They had measured Earth's weapons. They had studied Earth's divisions. They had calculated Earth's defenses. But they had not measured the human spirit. The first Vorath ships entered the edge of the solar system silently. Their sleek vessels glided through space, scanning and preparing for the strike. They expected to go unnoticed until the last moment. But they were wrong. Within hours, human telescopes picked up strange movements among the stars. Amateur astronomers reported the odd lights first. Soon after, military radars confirmed it. Something was entering the system, something big. At first, governments around the world argued. Some thought it was only space debris or asteroids. Others feared it was an experiment by rival nations. But as the strange objects grew closer, their unnatural speed and formation became clear. They were ships. Alien ships. For humanity, the discovery was terrifying, yet it was also uniting. In an instant, rival nations put aside their disagreements. Old enemies began to talk. Military leaders who once competed now shared information. The United Nations called an emergency session, and within hours, Earth spoke with one voice: prepare for defense. It was the first time in history that humanity had truly united under one cause. From orbit, the Vorath ships prepared their first strike. Their commanders looked down on the planet with disdain. They saw cities glowing with lights, networks of machines, and billions of living beings. To them it was noise and clutter. They will kneel, one commander said. They always kneel. But even as they prepared their weapons, something unexpected happened. Human satellites detected them with perfect clarity. Military command centers went on high alert. Fighter jets scrambled into the skies. Submarines armed with missiles disappeared into the oceans. Every human defense system, ancient or advanced, was activated. The Vorath did not expect such speed. They believed humans would panic, but instead humanity organized. Scientists rushed to analyze alien signals. Engineers began studying captured transmissions. Politicians gave speeches of unity, telling their people that Earth would not fall. Across the world, ordinary citizens prepared too. Some stored supplies, some volunteered for defense work, and some simply raised flags on their homes to show that they stood together. On the first day of the invasion, the Vorath made their move. Their warships entered Earth's orbit and released bright beams of energy into the skies. They destroyed satellites, knocked out communication systems, and burned through military bases with terrifying precision. But humanity did not collapse. Instead, they adapted. Within hours, engineers rerouted communication through hidden backups. Old radio systems were reactivated. Even when satellites fell, humans found ways to keep talking. When cities were attacked, firefighters and rescue teams worked without rest, pulling survivors from rubble and rebuilding shelters. Soldiers refused to retreat, even when facing weapons they had never seen before. And something else happened that the Vorath did not expect. The people of Earth fought back in ways that defied all logic. In Asia, hidden mountain bases launched missiles into the sky. surprising alien ships with their sheer numbers. The Vorath scoffed at such primitive weapons, but soon realized that in large swarms, even simple rockets could overwhelm advanced shields. In Europe, engineers worked day and night to hack into alien signals. Within days, they discovered weaknesses in the invaders' communication systems. Using simple radio waves, they disrupted Vorath coordination, creating confusion among enemy forces. In the oceans, submarines armed with nuclear warheads waited silently. When alien vessels flew too close to the water, the subs launched their strikes. Explosions lit the seas, and for the first time, Vorath ships fell from the sky. Across deserts, forests, and cities, humans used every trick they had. Guerrilla fighters used tunnels, traps, and old weapons in clever ways. Even farmers turned tractors into makeshift barriers, refusing to abandon their land. The Vorath, who had expected easy victory, now faced resistance in every corner of the planet. Inside their command ship, the Vorath leaders grew uneasy. This was not the usual pattern. By now, most species would have surrendered, begging for mercy. But the humans did not beg. They did not hide. They stood together. "What is this madness?" one officer hissed. "Why do they not submit?" The commander of the fleet watched Earth through the great viewing screen. Fires burned across the continents, yet the humans still fought. Their ships still launched. Their people still resisted. "This is not according to our calculations," the commander admitted. But still, the Vorath were confident. They had superior weapons, larger fleets, and centuries of experience. To them, this resistance was only a delay. What they did not realize was that this was only the beginning. Humanity was not just resisting. Humanity was learning. Every day they adapted faster. Every hour they found new strategies. Every minute they grew stronger. The Vorath had made their first mistake. They thought Earth would fall easily. But Earth was not just another planet. Earth was home to humans, a species that refused to bow, and soon the galaxy would understand what that meant. The Vorath fleet had grown frustrated. Their carefully planned attack had met with something entirely unexpected: organized resistance. Their sensors picked up human fighters in the skies, submarines lurking beneath oceans, and small groups moving through forests with surprising efficiency. Each attempt to strike a city or military base was met with clever counterattacks. "Commander," one Vorath officer said nervously, "our forces are taking losses. This is unusual. Most species surrender before the first day ends." The commander, a tall figure with pale blue skin and black ridges along its head, did not answer immediately. Its glowing eyes scanned the data streams. Reports came in faster than the human mind could process. Satellites had been destroyed, yet humans found new ways to communicate. Drones and planes had been shot down, yet humans adapted, creating new flight paths and strategies. Entire cities that had been damaged were being rebuilt within hours, sometimes stronger than before. "This is not a minor inconvenience," the commander finally said, its voice like grinding metal. "These humans, they are learning. Faster than we anticipated." On Earth, the first strike had indeed begun. Bright beams from Vorath warships illuminated the skies, striking major cities with precision. Fires spread, buildings crumbled, and smoke turned the night into a dark, burning landscape. For most species, this would have been the moment of surrender. But for humans, it was only the beginning of their resolve. In New York, a young engineer named Lena Alvarez coordinated local emergency teams. Amidst falling debris and fire, she directed volunteers to rescue survivors, repair communication lines, and reroute power through underground systems. Lena's calm voice on the radio reached hundreds of people, instructing them to move safely, stay united, and fight back if necessary. In Tokyo, military units used skyscrapers and underground tunnels as defensive positions. Soldiers who had trained for decades against each other now fought as one team, sharing supplies and intelligence freely. They set up ambushes, blocked roads, and repurposed old technology into new weapons. Even civilians helped, carrying food, water, and medicine to soldiers and displaced people. Across the world, similar scenes played out. From Moscow to Rio de Janeiro, from the deserts of Africa to the rainforests of South America, humans adapted. They turned ordinary items into tools of defense. Cars became barricades, water tanks became shields, and small rockets were launched from rooftops. Every human contribution counted. The Vorath had underestimated one critical factor: creativity. They expected humans to follow predictable patterns. But humans were unpredictable. When one tactic failed, they tried another. When one weapon was destroyed, they built a new one. Every day brought surprises. In London, a group of scientists captured alien signal data from a downed drone. Working tirelessly, they discovered ways to interfere with Vorath communications. Using simple transmissions amplified through old satellites, they created confusion among the fleet. Ships that were supposed to coordinate attacks collided, misfired their weapons, or retreated unnecessarily. The Vorath had never seen a species improvise so quickly under pressure. At sea, human submarines played another crucial role. Small and fast, they moved silently beneath the waves. When Vorath ships approached, these submarines launched torpedoes with precision. One after another, alien vessels fell into the oceans, sending plumes of water and metal into the air. For the first time in the Vorath's history, their ships could be destroyed by a species that had no interstellar experience. Even in space, human ingenuity surprised the invaders. Satellites, space stations, and modified spacecraft were used to launch counterattacks. Humans discovered ways to redirect Vorath energy beams using reflective surfaces. They created traps with minimal resources, turning the environment itself into a weapon. Each success emboldened humanity further, proving that they could fight not only on land and sea but in the stars above them. The Vorath fleet grew increasingly frustrated. Their logical plans were failing at every turn. Their soldiers had never faced enemies who adapted in real time. Losses were mounting and morale began to falter. "Commander," an officer reported, "our calculations show that humans are not only resisting but improving their strategies. They are learning from every attack we launch." The commander's ridged head tilted slightly. "They are not supposed to learn this quickly. Every species we have encountered submitted after the first strike. Why do they continue to resist?" "Because, Commander," another officer whispered, "they care about each other. They fight not just for survival but for each other." The commander stared at the holographic display of Earth, burning yet alive, and for the first time, a flicker of doubt crossed its features. It had never seen such resilience. It had never imagined that a species without advanced fleets or planetary shields could cause such disruption. On Earth, humans did not pause. Despite destruction, fear, and loss, they found strength in unity. Families helped families. Soldiers shared weapons with civilians. Engineers repaired damaged vehicles and machines in record time. Even children found ways to contribute, helping gather supplies or deliver messages. In Cairo, a group of engineers converted an abandoned factory into a command hub. They salvaged parts from Vorath debris and created weapons capable of disrupting enemy shields. Though the devices were crude, they were effective. Vorath ships that once struck without resistance now faltered, confused by attacks they could not anticipate. In the forests of Brazil, guerrilla fighters trapped Vorath soldiers in dense terrain, using knowledge of the environment to their advantage. Alien troops trained for open combat on many worlds were slowed by rivers, trees, and uneven ground. Humans, however, moved silently, striking quickly and disappearing before a counterattack could be organized. Across all continents, humans proved one universal truth. Survival was not just about weapons. It was about ingenuity, courage, and spirit. Despite all this, the Vorath were relentless. They launched heavier attacks aiming to destroy major cities and military bases. Their energy weapons scorched the earth, and their bombs left craters where life once thrived. Yet every attack met resistance. Human engineers rebuilt, strategists reorganized, and citizens refused to flee. Lena Alvarez, still coordinating rescue and defense operations in New York, looked out over a city half destroyed but not defeated. "We cannot give up," she told her team. "Every life we save, every system we repair, every attack we stop, it matters. We are not weak. We are human, and we will fight." Her words were echoed across the globe. Leaders, soldiers, and ordinary citizens repeated them in every language, rallying others to continue the fight. Even in despair, humanity found strength. For the first time in Vorath history, a species was not just surviving, they were improving. Every failed attack on humans became a lesson. Every strategy that seemed logical to the invaders was countered by human unpredictability. Every victory the Vorath expected to achieve was met with resistance, adaptation, and courage. The Vorath commander finally spoke, voice low and tense. "This is not a simple battle. These humans are unlike any species we have ever encountered. They are dangerous. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. For the first time, the Vorath feared that their conquest might not succeed. They had assumed humans would fall, as others had fallen before. But humans were different. Humans would not bow. And in that realization, the first cracks in the Vorath confidence appeared. Their fleets were powerful, but against a species united by courage, creativity, and an unbreakable will, even power could fail. The battle for Earth had only just begun. But one thing was already clear. Humanity was not the prey the Vorath had imagined. Humanity was a force, and now the galaxy would begin to understand that. The Vorath Collective had expected a quick conquest. Their calculations had assumed that Earth would collapse under the weight of their power. But after days of fierce resistance, their officers were forced to admit an uncomfortable truth. Humans were not only surviving, they were evolving in real time. The commander of the fleet stared at the holographic map of Earth, noting the patterns of human activity. Cities that had been damaged were already being rebuilt. Strikes that had aimed to cripple communication had failed, as humans had created redundant networks. Every attempt to break morale had backfired, only strengthening human determination. "This is unacceptable," the commander said, its voice cutting through the room like steel. "We anticipated weeks, perhaps months of resistance. Not this." One officer, smaller and nervous, replied, "They are learning. Every strategy we launch, they adapt within hours. Their technology may be simple, but their creativity, it is unlike anything we have seen." The commander's eyes narrowed. "Then we must escalate. If their learning is our problem, we destroy the systems that allow them to learn." On Earth, humans were already preparing for the next wave. Leaders from all nations had formed a global council, not in a luxurious building but in underground bunkers, hidden forests, and reinforced caves. This council coordinated every effort, ensuring that every resource, every person was used efficiently. In Berlin, Dr. Emil Hoffman and his team had captured fragments of Vorath technology from a downed ship. With careful study, they discovered that alien energy shields relied on precise frequency patterns. By creating small devices that could send interfering signals, humans could temporarily disable these shields. It was crude, it was risky, but it worked. News of this breakthrough spread quickly, across the globe. Engineers and scientists repurposed alien debris into weapons, communication devices, and defensive systems. Simple tools, enhanced with ingenuity, began to turn the tide in small but significant ways. In the forests of North America, guerrilla units used the terrain as a weapon. They set traps along valleys and rivers, luring Vorath patrols into ambushes. Alien soldiers trained to fight in open battlefields struggled to adapt to the dense, unfamiliar environments. Humans struck with precision, then disappeared into the wilderness, leaving the enemy confused and frustrated. At sea, humans devised new methods of defense. Small submarines moved like shadows beneath the water. Torpedoes were launched at unsuspecting Vorath vessels, creating panic and confusion. Surface fleets, though smaller, used speed and agility to evade attacks, hitting alien ships where they were most vulnerable. Even fishing boats were modified into defensive craft, carrying explosive devices or high-powered projectiles. The Vorath were stunned. No planet had ever used every possible resource, every citizen, every tool against them. In space, humans were equally resourceful. Orbital platforms, hastily converted from old satellites and space stations, became command hubs. Ships scavenged from wreckage were rebuilt into agile fighters capable of challenging Vorath vessels. Engineers discovered that reflective materials could redirect energy beams, allowing humans to strike at alien ships from angles they never expected. The Vorath had underestimated Earth's ability to learn from every encounter, and it was proving disastrous. The turning point came when humans captured a Vorath command drone. Dr. Hoffman and his team studied it for hours, finally discovering a flaw in the Vorath communication system. By sending signals at a specific rhythm, humans could intercept and manipulate alien orders. With this knowledge, human forces began coordinated counterattacks that disrupted the fleet's strategies. Ships collided, attacks were delayed, and alien soldiers grew confused. "This is incredible," said one young engineer in New York. "We can actually fight them on their terms now." "Yes," Lena Alvarez replied calmly, her eyes scanning the city skyline. "And we must. Every moment counts. Every small victory matters." The humans had discovered something vital. The Vorath were powerful, yes, but they were predictable in their reliance on logic. Humans, in contrast, could be unpredictable. Every human action combined creativity with courage, creating a force that the Vorath could not calculate. In one daring maneuver, a coalition of human pilots launched a surprise attack on a Vorath landing force near Cairo. Using old cargo planes modified with improvised weapons, they created diversions, drawing alien soldiers into traps while smaller strike teams moved in for precise attacks. Vorath soldiers were forced to retreat under pressure. Their advance slowed for the first time. Meanwhile, engineers in Europe worked around the clock to create hybrid devices, human ingenuity combined with captured alien technology. Small drones could carry explosive payloads, guided by human intuition rather than rigid programming. Energy shields could be temporarily hacked to create openings for attacks. Humans were no longer merely defending. They were fighting back on multiple fronts, and each success emboldened others to do the same. Even ordinary citizens contributed. Farmers provided food and materials. Children delivered messages through hidden routes. Civilians became scouts, medics, and engineers. Humans were not just surviving. They were proving that every person had value in the fight. This unity, unmatched in the galaxy, was reshaping the battlefield. For the Vorath, the realization was devastating. Losses that should have been insignificant were now mounting at an alarming rate. Ships fell to strategies they had never imagined. Soldiers were trapped in environments that should have been simple to conquer. Even the psychological impact of human resistance began to weigh heavily on the invaders. "Commander," one officer said, voice trembling, "we are losing ground. They are stronger than expected." The commander stared at the holographic projection of Earth, now marked with zones of resistance and human counterattacks. "This is impossible. No species has ever survived like this." One officer dared to speak further. "Commander, it is not just survival. They are adapting faster than we can predict. They are learning from every encounter, every strike, every mistake we make." The commander remained silent for a moment. Then its tone grew colder. "If they continue like this, Earth cannot be conquered. We must escalate our efforts. We must crush their spirit before it spreads." On Earth, however, spirit was stronger than ever. Lena Alvarez coordinated efforts across New York, Berlin, and Tokyo. Engineers, soldiers, and ordinary citizens communicated constantly, sharing intelligence, strategies, and encouragement. Every victory, no matter how small, was celebrated. Every loss was a lesson. In the deserts of Australia, guerrilla fighters used sandstorms to their advantage, ambushing alien patrols and creating confusion. In the jungles of Africa, small groups sabotaged Vorath supply lines, cutting off food and ammunition. Across every continent, humans were proving one undeniable truth: they would not surrender. Dr. Hoffman's team in Berlin sent a message to all major cities: do not fear. Adapt, create, fight. Every human is a weapon. Every human is a shield. Together we are unstoppable. These words spread like wildfire, reaching civilians and soldiers alike. People found courage in them, and the human spirit became the most powerful weapon against the Vorath fleet. The Vorath commander realized that the humans' strength lay not in their weapons, but in their unity and determination. Every plan, no matter how clever, was met with unexpected resistance. Every attack fueled human innovation. Every attempt to break morale only strengthened it. "This is unlike any conquest we have attempted," the commander admitted quietly to itself. "They are extraordinary." And in that moment, the first true turning point of the war became clear. Humanity would not only survive, it would fight back on its own terms. The Vorath had assumed Earth was weak, but they had been wrong. Humanity was strong, adaptable, and united. From that day forward, every move the Vorath made would be countered, challenged, and sometimes defeated. Humans had discovered their power, and the galaxy would begin to take notice. The battle for Earth was far from over. But one thing was certain: the humans had turned the tide. The first strike had failed. The Vorath had underestimated their enemy, and for the first time in centuries, a species had truly challenged the unstoppable Vorath collective, and humanity would not stop. The Vorath had underestimated humanity at every turn. Their massive fleet, powerful weapons, and centuries of conquest had failed to crush the spirit of Earth's defenders. Losses mounted as humans adapted faster than the Vorath could anticipate. And now, for the first time, the humans were going on the offensive. Lena Alvarez stood on a rooftop in New York watching the smoke rise from the city. Despite the destruction, she felt a sense of determination stronger than fear. Soldiers, engineers, and volunteers moved with purpose around her. Each human on the streets, in the skies, and beneath the ground knew one thing: they would not surrender. Dr. Emil Hoffman in Berlin had developed a breakthrough that could shift the balance. Using captured alien technology combined with human ingenuity, his team had created devices capable of temporarily disabling Vorath shields. These devices allowed small strike teams to penetrate alien defenses and strike vital targets. Word of the success spread quickly, inspiring humans across the globe to escalate their attacks. The first coordinated offensive began in the skies over Tokyo. Squadrons of fighter jets, some built using recovered alien technology, and others modified from human designs, launched a synchronized strike. Using EMP pulses and shield disruptors, they disabled the shields of several Vorath ships. Human pilots, using daring maneuvers that no simulation could have predicted, struck the invaders' weak points. At sea, submarines launched torpedoes at retreating alien vessels, while surface ships harassed them from unexpected directions. Even small fishing boats armed with improvised explosives created chaos among the Vorath. The aliens, confident in their superiority, were stunned. Their strategies failed against the creativity and courage of humans. On land, guerrilla units and resistance fighters pressed attacks in every corner of the world. In the forests of Brazil, humans trapped Vorath patrols in ambushes. In Africa, sabotage missions disrupted alien supply lines. Across Europe, hidden bases coordinated attacks that struck suddenly and disappeared. Every move was designed to confuse, disrupt, and demoralize. For the first time, humanity's unity became a weapon. Nations that had once fought each other now coordinated seamlessly. Satellites and communications networks were shared freely. Knowledge and technology were spread worldwide. Civilians played an active role, delivering supplies, repairing damaged infrastructure, and providing intelligence. Humanity had become a single, unstoppable force. The Vorath commanders, watching these developments from their flagship, could hardly comprehend it. "How can this species fight like this?" one officer demanded. "They should be broken, afraid, desperate. Yet they are. Relentless." The commander remained silent, its glowing eyes fixed on Earth. "They are not just defending their planet. They are defending each other. That is the difference. That is what makes them strong." In orbit, humans launched the next phase of their plan. Using a combination of hastily converted spacecraft and orbital stations, they created a coordinated strike force. While the Vorath expected retreating fleets or isolated attacks, humans hit simultaneously from multiple directions. Alien ships were surrounded, forced into defensive maneuvers, and targeted precisely at their vulnerable points. Lena Alvarez coordinated with other leaders worldwide, directing teams of engineers, pilots, and soldiers. The synchronization was remarkable. Each strike, each diversion, each calculated attack demonstrated human ingenuity at its finest. Down on Earth, ordinary citizens contributed in ways the Vorath had never expected. Farmers guided supply caravans through safe routes. Students repaired communication systems. Children delivered messages between resistance cells. Every human, from every walk of life, had become part of the fight. Their collective will was formidable beyond any weapon. One of the most daring human operations occurred near Cairo, where a large Vorath landing force had established a temporary base. Human engineers had discovered a weakness in the alien energy shields using Hoffman's technology. A squadron of fighters guided by humans on the ground struck at the shield's weak points. Explosions rocked the base, sending alien soldiers scrambling. Guerrilla units attacked from hidden positions, cutting off reinforcements. Within hours, the Vorath had lost control of the region. This victory sent shockwaves across the globe. For the first time, humans were not just defending, they were pushing the invaders back. News of their triumph spread quickly, inspiring resistance efforts in other regions. Wherever humans fought, the Vorath began to falter. At sea, humans trapped retreating alien ships using clever tactics. Submarines used underwater terrain to ambush Vorath vessels. Surface ships, small and agile, harassed alien fleets from unexpected angles. Even small civilian vessels carried explosives or EMP devices, creating confusion among the invaders. The Vorath had faced many species, but none that used every available tool and person as a weapon. In Europe, scientists in Berlin created hybrid drones combining human and alien technology. These drones could penetrate enemy lines and disable communication systems. In combination with coordinated strikes by pilots and ground units, the Vorath were forced to retreat, their formations breaking apart. For the first time, humans had achieved strategic victories on multiple fronts simultaneously. The Vorath commander grew increasingly desperate. "This cannot continue," it said. "We have faced countless species. None have ever resisted like this. None have adapted, fought, and survived against us." An officer hesitated before responding. "Commander, they are learning faster than we can anticipate. Every counter we devise, they adapt. Every tactic, every weapon, every strategy turned against us. We are losing control." The commander's eyes glowed brighter, a mixture of anger and fear. "Then we must escalate. If they resist now, we crush them. No compromise, no mercy." Humans, however, had no intention of surrendering. They had discovered the power of unity and the strength of their ingenuity. Every strike by the Vorath became an opportunity to learn and adapt. Every loss was transformed into a lesson for the next battle. Civilians became soldiers, engineers became tacticians, and leaders guided the planet with a single purpose: protect Earth and each other. In New York, Lena Alvarez watched as a damaged Vorath vessel crashed into the Hudson River, sending plumes of water and metal into the sky. Children cheered, soldiers high-fived, and engineers noted the patterns of the alien weapons for future attacks. Each victory, no matter how small, reinforced the human spirit. Across the globe, victories accumulated. Vorath forces were forced to retreat in multiple regions. Cities once under siege now organized counterattacks. Ships that had threatened oceans were disabled. And through it all, humans remained undeterred, united and determined. By the end of the week, the balance of power had shifted. The Vorath, once confident of easy victory, were on the defensive. Humans had transformed from survivors into warriors, using intelligence, creativity, and courage to turn the tide. The Vorath commander, staring at the damaged and retreating fleet, admitted something that would echo throughout history. "This species is unlike any other. They do not fear. They do not surrender. They do not break. Their spirit, it is formidable." From that moment forward, humanity's wrath became a warning to all who underestimated them. They were no longer merely defending their planet. They were proving that unity, courage, and ingenuity could overcome even the most powerful enemies. The battle was far from over, but the tide had turned. Humans were no longer reacting. They were attacking with purpose, strategy, and strength. Every victory, every lesson, every action demonstrated a universal truth. Earth would not fall. Humans would not bow, and the galaxy would learn in time that attacking Earth came with a price no one could pay. The Vorath had discovered something new. The humans of Earth were not merely prey. They were a force to be reckoned with, and their wrath had only just begun. The Vorath had never imagined defeat. They had conquered worlds, enslaved species, and crushed resistance wherever they went. Their fleets were vast, their weapons unmatched, and their strategies precise. But Earth was different. Humanity had not only survived, they had fought back, adapted, and grown stronger with every attack. For the first time, the Vorath were retreating. Their ships, battered and broken, fled orbit, leaving behind a planet that had withstood the fury of a galactic empire. Yet even in retreat, they realized something terrifying. Humans were not a species to be underestimated. On Earth, celebrations were quiet but profound. Cities that had suffered devastation were now rebuilding. Engineers, soldiers, and civilians worked together, repairing infrastructure, restoring communication, and tending to the wounded. Lena Alvarez walked through the streets of New York, observing the tireless effort around her. Despite the scars of battle, there was hope, determination, and an unshakable sense of purpose. "They thought they could conquer us," she said to her team, "but we showed them who we are. We do not surrender, we do not fear, and we do not break." Across the globe, similar scenes unfolded. In Berlin, Dr. Emil Hoffmann's team continued studying Vorath technology, understanding it not to dominate, but to prepare for the future. In the forests of Brazil and the deserts of Australia, guerrilla units dismantled leftover alien equipment, ensuring it could never threaten humanity again. Every region, every community had contributed to the victory, and every community had learned something from the fight. For the Vorath, The retreat was not just a tactical loss, it was a lesson that would echo across the galaxy. Reports of human resilience, ingenuity, and unity spread among their survivors. Officers who had fought countless wars were stunned. "They are not like any species we have encountered," one Vorath officer said. "They are small, unarmed in comparison, yet they have defeated us." The commander of the fleet, once proud and arrogant, admitted a truth few had considered. This planet, these humans, they are dangerous. Not because of weapons, but because of spirit. Because they fight for each other. Because they will never surrender. Across the galaxy, news of the failed invasion traveled faster than any transmission the Vorath could control. Other civilizations, some curious, some fearful, began to whisper a single warning. No species survives an attack on Earth. Humans, however, did not grow arrogant. Leaders knew that the battle had been won through unity, courage, and careful strategy, not through luck. They understood that the galaxy was vast and other threats might arise in the future, but for now humanity could stand proud. They had faced the impossible and emerged victorious. In Tokyo, citizens cleaned streets and rebuilt neighborhoods. Soldiers and engineers shared stories of their courage and ingenuity. Each person's contribution was celebrated, from the pilot who struck a Vorath ship in orbit to the child who carried messages through hidden paths. Humanity had proven that every individual mattered, and that every action, no matter how small, could shape the outcome of history. One of the most remarkable human achievements during the battle had been the global coordination of knowledge and resources. For the first time in history, nations set aside political differences entirely. Every research lab, every military unit, and every citizen contributed to a single, unified goal: protect Earth. Scientists shared discoveries freely, engineers worked across borders, and communities supported each other without hesitation. It was this unity that had allowed humanity to turn the tide of war. Against a species that had conquered countless worlds, humans had proven that cooperation, creativity, and courage could overcome even the most advanced technology. Even the Vorath recognized it. In their communications to other worlds, they warned, "Earth is not merely defended. It is united. Its species is adaptable, relentless, and unpredictable. Attack it at your own peril." In space, remnants of the Vorath fleet fled toward distant star systems. Some ships were destroyed in the final human offensives, others disabled and stranded. But survivors carried stories of humans who fought without fear, adapted without pause, and turned the invaders' strength into weakness. These stories became legends among alien species, a warning for generations to come. On Earth, human fleets, though far smaller than the Vorath armada, had achieved the impossible. Orbital platforms, hastily converted spacecraft, and ingenious hybrid weapons had struck fear into the invaders. What the Vorath had expected to be a simple conquest had become a lesson in human tenacity. Even after the battle, humanity did not rest entirely. Leaders recognized that knowledge gained from the fight could prepare future generations. Schools taught children about strategy, creativity, and courage. Cities rebuilt with stronger infrastructure, ready for any new challenges. Engineers developed advanced systems based on human innovations during the war. Every victory became a stepping stone for future strength. Lena Alvarez, looking over New York from a high vantage point, reflected on what had been achieved. "We are more than survivors," she said quietly. "We are guardians of our planet. We are united. And the galaxy will remember what happens when anyone underestimates us." Her words were echoed in speeches, messages, and celebrations worldwide. Humanity had learned the ultimate lesson. Strength comes not just from weapons, but from unity, creativity, and the will to fight for each other. The Vorath, meanwhile, had returned to their home systems. Battered and humbled, other civilizations listened to their reports and began to take heed. The message spread through space. Earth was defended not just by weapons, but by something far more dangerous: the human spirit. Across the galaxy, species debated whether to confront humanity in the future. Some chose caution, some chose avoidance. None dared underestimate humans again. Earth had become more than a planet. It had become a symbol, a warning, and a force to be reckoned with. On the planet itself, humans continued to rebuild. Communities shared resources, repaired infrastructure, and tended to those injured in battle. Farmers restored crops destroyed by alien bombardments. Engineers repaired power grids and communication networks. Scientists studied the remnants of Vorath technology, learning lessons that would shape the future. And through it all, one lesson stood clear above all. Humanity's greatest weapon was itself. Courage, unity, adaptability, and ingenuity had defeated a galactic empire. Every citizen, every leader, every soldier, every child had played a role. No species had ever attacked Earth and survived. The Vorath had learned it the hard way, and now the galaxy would know it as well. In the years that followed, humans became a species remembered for its spirit. The story of the battle spread across the stars, carried by survivors, traders, and travelers. The lesson was clear: attack Earth, and face a species that fights not just with weapons, but with heart, mind, and unity. Lena Alvarez, now older, watched a sunset from a rebuilt city. Children played in parks free from fear. Engineers and scientists worked on new inventions. Soldiers trained not just for defense, but for exploration and protection. Humanity had survived, but more than that, it had thrived, and in the hearts of humans everywhere, one truth remained unshakable. We are strong. We are united. We are human, and no species survives an attack on Earth. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had proven that survival was not about technology alone. It was about courage, unity, and the indomitable human spirit. Earth was safe, for now. But one thing was certain: any who dared challenge humanity in the future would remember this story. And they would know the price of underestimating a united human race.